How to understand corporate politics in 5 minutes or less. I'm Kendall, that career coach, and I'm here to teach you the secrets of the career game so that you can progress your career faster without losing your mind along the way. So, the reality of corporate politics is that everyone, theoretically, is striving for the same few seats at the top, but with different technical acumen, different communication skills, different networks. And so, what ends up happening is we end up with a layer of corporate nicety and corporate subterfuge in pretty much everything that happens in the workplace. Oftentimes, we hear that we can't be honest at work or you can't share your opinion. And I don't necessarily think these are true. I think these are a contributing reason to why corporate politics gets a bad rep. But the reality is that, like all relationships that you have in your life, the workplace is a series and a web of relationships. And people want to be in relationships with people they like, people they understand, and people who are willing to reciprocate effort. And in the end, corporate politics really only comes down to these three things. So we'll start with the first one. People like to work with people that they like. This is where I think we all would love a world where we can just be 100% authentically ourselves, super direct, not have to worry about anybody else's feelings. But workplace, like dating, like friendships, requires us to modify our language in a way that is going to allow the people receiving that language to accept it, right? There are probably people in your life, in your personal life, who you would not tell them they were making a mistake, even if you knew they were, because they're not going to receive it well. They're going to take it out on you. They're not going to listen, and it's a waste of energy. The same is true in the workplace. And if you want to be liked at work, you have to modify your language in a way that is going to be palatable. This is true when you are disagreeing with someone's idea. This is true when you are pitching an idea. This is true when you are building a relationship with your boss or your coworkers. People want to work with people they like. And that doesn't mean becoming a fake, inauthentic version of yourself, but it does require being likable. And I think women get hit with this harder than men in general, but it's true across the board. You cannot say whatever you want and expect everybody to like you. And in work, where you don't get to pick every single person you interact with, you have to accommodate their preferred working ways and preferred working styles in order to be successful. So this means disagreeing in an effective way. This means sharing risks and concerns, but ultimately getting behind people's ideas. This means asking more questions. And this means building base relationships. If you do not have base relationships with every person that you're interacting with on a regular basis, you're not going to be as successful. I know people hate networking. It's scary. It's uncomfortable. But in the end, if you don't have a relationship with them, if you're not networking with them, if you don't know them, getting work done with them is going to be much harder. The second piece is people like to have relationships with people they understand. And this is where clarity of communication is so important. When you are climbing the corporate ladder and you are so ingrained in the details, you want to share everything with everybody. I had an executive once tell me that talking to me was like drinking out of a fire hose. Okay. So much information all the time. The reality is, if you can communicate clearly what is important to them, what you need, how to get it done effectively without layering in unnecessary information, you are going to be more successful. Leaders are going to want to hire you. They're going to want you on their team because they understand you. Understanding you has nothing to do with your cultural background, communication barriers. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about concise clarity of communication. Don't give too much information. Don't overwhelm them with everything they didn't need to know. Answer their questions clearly and quickly. If you can learn to communicate effectively, it's a superpower, right? Because there's such a small percentage of people who know how to do it. And this leads us to part 3. People want to be in a relationship with those who are going to have reciprocated effort. This means that if you are constantly asking for things from somebody from work, if you're constantly making demands of people, then you need to be able to reciprocate in time with a similar sense of urgency and a similar volume of effort to their requests. It also means if someone is willing to take time out of their day to mentor you, to network with you, to build a relationship with you, that you are willing in turn to take time out of your day to interact with them and build a relationship with them and take an interest in their life. This is why small talk in meetings becomes really important. And I used to hate small talk. So if you're listening to this and you hate it, I get it. But if you're willing to take the first few minutes of a meeting to say, hey, I know that your kid just graduated high school. How did it go? Or I understand that you were just on vacation. How was your trip? Just those small things that show you're having an invested interest in their lives and what's important to them makes such a big difference in developing these ongoing relationships. And so as an individual, you want that reciprocated effort. If you're expecting them to care about who you are as a person, care about your work, make an effort, you need to similarly be doing that for them. And all of the time I see it where it's like, my boss doesn't care about me. They don't ask enough questions. Like, great. Are you building a relationship with them? Are you investing them? It is a two-way street. And there will always be exceptions to these where corporate politics just becomes the result of one really bad egg in the workplace who is stealing credit or stealing work from people or refusing to give you accolade or visibility or whatever it is. There will always be those niche situations that require a little more white glove service. But on the whole, if you are working to be likable, to build relationships, communicate effectively, clearly and concisely, and reciprocating effort with the individuals around you, you will be able to navigate 90% of corporate politics. The other 10% is that niche that gets you that really bad reputation that requires a lot more finesse. But the 90% of it is spend time investing in people instead of investing in the work, and you'll find more success. Go ahead and hit subscribe if you found this helpful, and check back in next week for more tips.